everyone. Wow. That's very loud. Question for everybody. Before today, please raise your hand if you had heard of EPAM. Great. I am going to buy drinks for the three of you because nobody ever knows about EPAM. My name is Sandra Loughlin. I am the Chief Learning Scientist at EPAM Systems. We are a big company that no one's ever heard of because we are allergic to marketing. But we are doing some really amazing things in the education space when it comes to especially post-secondary education. I want to talk a little bit about that with my colleague, Nataliya Soboleva. That is us. So I want to discuss today a little bit about who we are because the context actually really matters quite a bit. Discuss our vision, like when, as an employer and as a major software engineering organization, what is it that we are seeing in terms of gaps in the market? And then talk about how we have begun to make that real with EPAM Global Campus. And then my colleague is going to come and show you some really cool things that we're doing with AI, both on the learning and the skill validation and the instructor side of the house. So again, a little bit of backstory. So EPAM is about a $5 billion company. We're about 30 years old, headquartered in Newtown, Pennsylvania, so right outside of Philadelphia. Hey, Newtown! We are, I guess the best corollary for us to understand in terms of our services catalog is Accenture. That's just a good understanding. So they went from consulting into tech. We went from tech into consulting, but now we kind of cover the same swath. So everything from ideation to strategy, with a big emphasis on the technology services. We are a very globally distributed organization. So we exist in 55 countries right now, and we have about 55,000 employees today. We are our home base, even though we're not headquartered there, was historically in Eastern Europe. And we are known for being exceptionally good at software engineering and exceptionally good at technology talent. And this is really a factor of two different things that make us very distinctive. The first is, and I think if you were in the session earlier today, I mentioned this, you've heard of the skills-based organization. Everyone's heard of this unicorn. It's this organization that essentially collects and uses validated skills data to do everything. You use skills data to hire the right people. You use skills data to find opportunities for people within the organization, so internal mobility. So you don't have to go out and hire. You can actually bring people over to new roles based on their skills. You use skills data to personalize learning and make sure that people are getting the right upskilling opportunities. You use skills data to inform performance management so that people in their roles are there because they have the skills, not because they know someone or just have been there forever through inertia. So EPAM is this proverbial unicorn. People have been talking about the skills-based organization for decades. No one had ever seen it. About, in March of this year, we started talking a little bit about our experience and realized that this is something that is pretty different in the space. And we believe, we are confident, that this is actually one of the reasons for our business agility. So as an organization, EPAM has evolved our core business 4 or 5 times at this point. And the reason that we can do that is not simply because we have intelligence on the skills that our business needs. We have the infrastructure to get people to continually grow those skills. And that, again, is skills-based performance management. So when an employee understands what skills they have, they understand what skills they need, they know what good looks like, and they have an infrastructure to support their learning, it's amazing what happens. They actually learn. And when, and every organization, the goalposts move because your company moves, your skills needs move. If you have skills-based performance management, again, based on high-quality data, you actually have a continuous learning culture, a real one, as opposed to, I don't know what people talk about when they say this, but like having a lot of access to content. Like that's not what we mean. Continuous learning means people are actively pulling learning programs and benefiting from them and changing how they work. That's what we are able to have as an organization, and that's part of why I think we can attribute our business success to this concept. The other thing that makes us distinctive and allows us to grow rapidly with no marketing and a high quality talent is the fact that we have a tremendous educational infrastructure within EPAM. In addition to our learning programs, which again are not training, it's not access to content, it's really high impact, scalable, like real learning with practice and feedback and mentorship and assessments and all that really important stuff. We are also very oriented toward building our talent pipeline. So at EPAM, something like 98% of new hires come into the organization through our educational partnerships that we have with universities globally. We have 180 of them when I last counted, but it's constantly growing. And we have engaged with universities for decades because we have seen such a tremendous gap between what the universities produce from a skills perspective and what we need for employees on day one. There's just a massive gap. And so we have been actively engaged in the higher education community in a bunch of different countries, and it continues to grow as we grow. We also have a ton of programs for our communities. So a big part of what attracts and retains EPAMers is our investment in the communities in which we work and they live. And we have a lot of programs around kids, like teaching coding to kids. We have high school programs, youth programs, and we are now having a lot of more senior programs, especially helping seniors navigate new platforms, and AI is a big issue for them as well. So we have this very significant infrastructure just to get to EPAM, but then when people leave, we keep them in our gig network. We have a ton of people who have left EPAM or those who have applied, but they weren't quite ready for us. So we have a very large gig workforce as well, and we are as dedicated to educating them as we are to educating our existing EPAMers, because so much of the work that we're doing is project-based, and we can actually benefit from having both full-time employees and a gig workforce. So when we think about EPAM's success as a business, we really think about it from the perspective of our ability to get the right talent in the organization and keep that talent growing on a continual basis. However, we still have huge gaps. So despite decades and many millions of dollars investing in education, as a business, we cannot continue to grow at the scale that we have been growing without significant additional changes. What we have found, especially in the countries in which we operate, there are a lot of students who are coming out of their degree programs unable to get jobs, because they have no actual work experience, and there's so much supply that they're just not able to distinguish themselves. And so we have a big burden for our communities in creating educational opportunities that actually create economic benefits for individuals and for the region. As we are continuing to grow geographically, because we need to ingest EPAMers from our own pipeline, we have to continue to scale our university partnerships. And as anyone who works in a university knows, it's extremely difficult to do. There's no infrastructure to support that. It's a lot of manual effort. And as we are expanding, we're trying to find ways to do this better and faster. Even with the programs that we put in place, we often have juniors coming into the organization with gaps still. Because even though they've learned things in an academic context, they don't have experience. And experience is so important, especially for team-based work, like software engineering. We also have employees, right, who have done a ton of learning at EPAM, but they want externally visible credentials to show for that work. And so it's an issue for us in terms of being able to keep people in the organization because they want some evidence. And then, certainly not least, but last on this list, is the fact that AI is utterly disrupting our industry, utterly. There is no way that the students who are entering undergraduate today are going to enter a work environment that people are working in today. There's just no way in this space. And so it is absolutely imperative that we educate potential EPAMers and current EPAMers with a completely new way of understanding the software development lifecycle. And as we are disrupting it ourselves, we need to build that into educational programming in order for the company to respond and in order for us to continue to grow and expand our footprint. So we have been, for the past few years, even before AI really hit, embarking on an experiment for a new way of thinking about higher education. This experiment came from a set of collaborators from university and from academia. And it's been like getting together, trying to solve this problem and figure out what are the components of traditional organized higher education that should remain, and what are the components that should not. And because we have kind of a tabula rasa approach to this, the model that we have hit upon, I think, is very exciting. There are three major goals for this re-envision education. The first is work-ready graduates. So people who not just have the technical skills, but actually know how to freaking like manage up and deal with a calendar and overcome challenges, where they actually have learned how to learn, really, not just for pretend, because we need them to be able to do that on a going forward basis. And we need them to have real hands-on experience so that they can seamlessly transition from school to work. The second is that we need this to be accessible. We are an employer of people not in the US, not in Western Europe. We need some incredibly high quality education to be accessible for people who have less money, who are not in city centers, and who are often coming from non-traditional backgrounds. So you're not your 18-year-olds. And then last but not least, we need to be benefiting from the best that humans can offer and the best that technology and especially AI can offer. And so this has been our kind of design principles. And these are the 8 pillars that we have identified as being, from our point of view, the vision of higher education. And I'll walk through each one. So the first is a connected skills-based approach, meaning that there needs to be no daylight between the skills that students end with and the skills that employers are hiring for, right? And the only way to have that transparency is to actually create transparency around the skills that students are learning in the classroom or in the school and the skills that employers are hiring for. So having that as the kind of currency is something that we found to be critical, and it really, again, helps that we're skills-based because we have a good foundation for that. The second, and I cannot stress this enough, is the dynamic curriculum. Particularly in something like software, there are absolutely foundational elements, like core concepts that need to be learned. But if students are only learning those, there's going to be a significant gap between their ability to be productive on the job, because they have to learn some real concrete stuff. And again, because of AI's disruption, we needed this curriculum to be just like evergreen and ongoing. And so what we are doing is leveraging, again, the foundation coming from academia, but we're bringing in experts from the technology leadership around the company and actually crowdsourced around the industry for what are the skills that are going to be required. And we are balancing the foundational elements for the first 2 years of the program, and then tapering that into the more cutting-edge things that are going to be in their last year, recognizing that those cutting-edge fourth-year things are going to, be gone in 3 to 5 years. We know that, but the foundation will allow them to continue to add on to that. The third element is a major focus on experiential learning and internships. So in our university, every year there's an internship. It starts relatively short, 4 weeks, right, is the shortest one? 4 weeks. And then by the end of their 4th year for an undergrad, it's a full semester. And we are doing this because we just need them to get into the workplace to start practicing. There's nothing like that experience to help students, understand what they want to do, right? And then to give them the knowledge of organizations, the knowledge of how this works in practice, and then the experience of actually having to deal with the manager and time and project constraints and all that other stuff. So we have a major focus on this, and there's also experiential learning built into the curriculum, but I want to highlight especially the internship because it is a core design principle for us. The other is, another one is the AI-enabled asynchronous learning. So we know that the best learning happens through a blend of online or asynchronous and live. Throwing AI onto that, and again, we're an AI shop. We are doing incredibly cool, cutting-edge things with that. Allows us to have AI tutors. Allows us to have students learning asynchronously from really fantastic content, practicing and having AI giving them feedback as they are working through their projects, as well as having a coach on the side. So their asynchronous learning is as far away from sitting and clicking through online courses as it could be. And as we continue to get new technological breakthroughs, we're going to keep adding those in. But from a proportion standpoint, we're trying to improve access and cost, the asynchronous portion is actually very large in our programs. But as you will see, it is not, it's balanced. So imagine an exec ed model where in a semester you have students coming to a city center for 5 days. At the beginning of the semester, they're going to meet their friends, they're going to meet their instructors, they're going to be doing like live in-person teamwork, practice, getting feedback on their soft skills and their teamwork skills, and then going away and working asynchronously, but with a social group, right? People that live near them, people that are just like their virtual buddy that they've already met in real life. Then coming back midterms for their assessments, which are being done in person and live because cheating. Going back, doing more, and then coming back in at the end of the semester. So this is the balance that we're striking. So what it means is that for a student in Uzbekistan who is living farther in the country, they only need to be physically on site at an EPAM location for 6 weeks out of the year, but getting a tremendous benefit from the live human social interactions that we know people learn best from. We are also focused on 3 different skill groups. So technical, obviously, but we also focus on what we call professional skills. So this is the stuff that happens at work, like as I mentioned many times, managing up, teamwork, calendaring, just being able to be on a project, understand the dynamics around that, manage clients, manage customers. The third one, though, is more about the individual person's self-skills, being resilient, learning how to learn, having a growth mindset. These are things that we are deliberately developing in our students as part of our curriculum because we know that actually those are the durable skills are the ones that are going to matter long term. And we can't leave those to chance. They don't just happen. So we are actively building those as part of our curriculum, both instructionally, but then all of those in-person intensives, those are designed to help practice and get feedback and continue to hone those skills. This is my favorite element. We are deliberately teaching students how to learn. So if you imagine AI as a learning partner or coach, at the beginning of a program, like we're not relying on that a ton. Like we're using it for like education, like coaching from a learning perspective, but we're not asking students to teach themselves with AI. We'll never fully ask them and teach themselves, but we are taking the training wheels off over a 4-year period because we want students to actually know how to prompt, what good looks like, when to look for human interaction, how to find errors. If we really want to, as part of our curriculum, actually begin to take off some of the typical higher educational structures that we put on students so that they don't actually have to learn how to learn, because we told them exactly what to know and how to know it. These are ongoing, like this is like a big experiment, so I'm not saying that we've solved all of these problems, but this is a deliberate design principle that, and we are seeing really fantastic growth in students as a result. They can't do it on day one. Like, they stink on day one. They're coming from high school where this is not, they're not used to this kind of thinking. But over time, as we are able to shift the emphasis more on them, we're seeing a lot of exciting movement. And then last but not least, we're an international company. We believe that a lot of education happens just in the interaction amongst people and in different cultural contexts. And so we have, as part of our programs, built in international exchange. You don't have to do this, but EPAM has offices all over the world. At scale, we are hoping that students will actually kind of like, not quite the Minerva model, but sort of like that, actually learn by going and working in new environments. And the curriculum will remain the same, and because it's so asynchronous and hybrid, they can actually do that and still get the benefits of having peer groups, having friends, and all the social connections that matter. So I've alluded to this. We are making it real. It is not perfect at all, by any stretch of the imagination, but we have begun doing this both on the undergrad and on the master's degree level. And the third one is lifelong learning. So we are actively engaged with universities. We are looking and expanding our footprint internationally, but we are putting our vision to the test. There are 2 schools that we have partnered with so far. One is in Uzbekistan and one is in Ukraine. There are bachelor's and master's degrees, and again, these are fully done by EPAM. Again, there are professors, but not just like a fully, industrial curriculum. But it is a true partnership between industry and university, with industry being the driver, oddly enough, of the curriculum itself, because we're the ones who are closest to the work that's getting done. We have about 500 students, I think, this year, and are growing. We also have a number of different partners where we do the lifelong learning. So these are like for people who are already in the workplace. These are the stackable credentials. These are the things that are giving them that external visibility for what they have learned on the job. In some cases, it is just a straight connection because EPAM's curriculum is so robust internally. In others, we are adding additional courses to make sure that they are filling in any gaps that the university is requiring of them. So our vision is broad. Our implementation is going, but we believe, and we're starting to see evidence, that this is the model that we think that higher education is going to be seeing on a going forward basis. People still want degrees. Like, a lot of the world still wants degrees. And so even though we might see a slowing down of the degree focus, we don't expect it's going to go away. Instead, what we're seeing is a movement toward a more industry-led curriculum, a big focus on the human skills, and a reliance on AI to do things that create high-quality learning experiences at scale. This is our proposal. Afterward, I'd love to hear your kind of thoughts and feedback on that. But now I'm going to turn this over to my colleague to show some examples of how we are leveraging AI in the teaching and learning in this program.
Hello, hi there. My name is Nataliya, and I'm responsible at EPAM for development academic programs. As Sandra mentioned, EPAM, as employer, believes there should be two-way relationship between universities and workplace, especially in technical education. And EPAM can bring to university cutting-edge technology, the best industry practice, and embedded it into university curriculum. And in return, we expect that university graduates should be ready for AI workplace, should have enough knowledge, enough skills, and maybe most important, to understand the balance between human abilities and AI abilities. Sandra explained a very bright future. It's our joint dream, North Star, that we are thinking about. But how we can get there, what we can do to bring more and more this idea to life. Of course, as AI first company, EPAM think that to implement AI-assisted tools in real educational process could help a lot. You know all that AI using an education, AI-assisted educational system right now is a very hot topic and everyone talking about that. I'm going to send you just a few very practical, very real examples how EPAM used different tools in our everyday teaching and learning work. We know that AI can help a lot of instructor and can help a lot, of course, for student. Let's talk about student first, because student is always first in our process. On the screen, you can see our Learn platform. That is innovative EPAM platform that we usually use to teach our employer, and we using the same platform to teach students from our EPAM school. That platform allows to create individual collection of learning materials, individual learning paths that base actually on verified skill gaps that, that employer or student should fill out. So it's very, very well used within EPAM and also in our schools. AI tutor. I think everyone met our Gen AI here, and within our Learn platform, we also use tutor, maybe not in so pretty human body, but it's also very useful for to help students to learn. Let us look through how it works. So student may ask questions. In this particular example, student asked that how AI can help him to study about learning principles and how it's helping his study. So AI, first of all, ask who is talking about it. Suppose student answer that this is student. AI ask, how much do you know about this topic? And student answer, not too much. And AI explain him different conception, and most important, it also provides some additional questions. So this is like dialogue when AI tutor not provide complete answer, but try to engage student in active dialogue and to push them to further thinking, to further investigation. Next variation of AI tutor is coding tutor. So you know, as every instructor knows that to teach coding is a very time-consuming task, and actually is exactly the task when AI can help a lot. Let's hope that it will work. Okay, it's working. So that is within the system. Student sign for some course, receive coding task. Student is reviewing general conditions, general terms of this task. For example, how many attempts students have them, what scoring rules. Then student read exactly what he or she needs to do. In particular example, it required to do some coding in .NET technology to make some refactoring. Students do that and submit their solution into the system. AI tutor evaluated this code. And it's very important that finally it provides detailed analysis. And the analysis include not only just scoring, but detailed description of student work. So it's about code review, about code clarity, method design, performance considerations, scalability, all things. And also important that it provides suggestion for improvements. And finally, even gave some score. In this example, students get 85 from 100, so not so bad. And in the summary, AI tutor shows that this code is quite good, and explain that suggestion for improvements will be is connected with more clear, more scalability. And it's important that here students have unlimited number of attempts actually and could improve its work more and more. Let's talk about instructor. Earlier today, my colleagues Yulia and Oleg described in details how content development cycle in EPAM work. You see a very complicated process, and of course AI can help practically in each stage of this project, from content document design to content curation, multimedia creation, language translation, and all these things. So there are a lot of challenges, of course, and my colleague told you about that. But however, right now we are really actively using that in our content creation process. Okay, for instructor, AI-assisted quiz generator. All we know that to create quizzes is important part of instructor job, but sometimes it's quite time-consuming and boring things. So let us look how it works. Our tool that help create quizzes, we call it Examinator. Okay, it works. It's important that there are a few different operational modes here, or a few options. From a very single option, when instructor just enter his text, his question, and AI can just edit this text and suggest more answer, correct answer, incorrect answer, and so on. So it's just very simple mode. The second variant, when we need, instructor need variation. You know, to prevent cheating, it's very often required to create approximately the same questions, but to make it's slightly different. And of course, AI can do that very easily. More complicated mode, when AI can create complete quiz just based on complete topics of the lesson. And again, important when AI tutor doing that, there is a few options. Very simple option, like we call quick generator. As for example, you need very simple questions just for formative assessment. You can do it very quickly right now. And there are advanced options where instructor can indicate number of attempts, type of questions, everything. And most important that here it is, human instructor and AI tutor are working together. So on each stage, human instructor can make changes, can pick up questions that he or she really likes, and refuse some suggestion from AI tutor. So I think there is a good example of right balance of human and AI abilities. Next, connected with this example, AI-assisted grading. So when you create quizzes, again, everyone knows, so boring work is check. Many students answer. And again, AI is a great tool to help with these tasks. For example, here it is. A student submit his answer. AI provides a very detailed text response, make some gradings. And it's important again that real human instructor can correct score, correct text, and finally student get a very clean review provided by human instructor. And in the end, again, I would like to demonstrate example of games that were created during a very exciting event that we conduct in EPAM this summer. A lot of EPAMers, and among them students from EPAM schools, were creating different type of games. And for example, in these games, discounting duel, you can feel themselves in small shop in the heart of Turkish Istanbul, and you can talk with Istanbul sales guy. It's interesting that here AI imitating Turkish salesman's speech with a lot of compliment words about its carpet. Your task is to buy the best carpet for the best price. And you are talking with this game, try to negotiate lower prices. And finally, if you accept offer, you can get this nice carpet for more low price. I think this game starts with 10,000 K coins and finish on 8,000 coins, so not so bad. Again, it's just a funny example. There are a lot of games here. It was created during a week, and I think it's a good example how to show student how prompts working. Yeah, I see it. Discount to 2,000 K, not bad result. Okay, so it's just a few very maybe simple example, but it's really working, and we use it in every day, our learning and teaching practice within EPAM and within EPAM schools for our students. So we are very happy to chat. If Sandra wanted to comment something, please.
No, I hope you heard like 25% of what we said. Maybe. We would be happy to chat, answer questions in a quieter location if you'd like. But thank you for coming. Yeah, we are super excited to hear if you have visions on the future of higher education, how AI is going to play a role. We'd love to learn more from you as well. So thank you.